What if you could get people to do things that you want them to do just by writing a little bit differently? That's what this video is all about. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 different steps that you can take to get people excited about the things that you want to share about. While this might sound a little bit manipulative or maybe kind of sketchy, this video isn't really about playing mind games so much as it is about changing your communication in a way that makes people actually interested in what it is that you're trying to share about. You'll also be able to, by the end of this video, understand when other people are using these tactics, and sometimes it's not always for good purposes. So it's really good to know when these things are being used on you and how to avoid them. With this in mind, let's get into it. Step 1 is to make a promise. So when I say make a promise here, I mean in the first line of whatever it is you have to say. That means the first line of your email, or maybe it's in the title of your YouTube thumbnail. Maybe it's in the first line of the article that you're writing, or it's in the headline of the article that you're writing. Making someone a promise tells them that they are going to receive something, or they are going to get something by engaging with whatever it is that you've prepared, by clicking your link, by signing up for your newsletter, by buying your product, whatever it is. By making someone a promise, they feel like they are going to get something by taking the next step with you, and this gives them more confidence. So this tip isn't really about the whole process of giving someone information or getting them to buy a product, but rather this tip is about kind of the first step in that process. The first thing that's going to get them to come into your store, or the thing that might get them to pick up the phone to call you, whatever that first step might be. A really good way to get people to do that is by making them a promise. So let's take a look at a few example promises. You've probably seen a lot of things like this already. Learn the basics of programming in just 1 week. Get a weekly online masterclass. Find the latest information about your favorite celebrities. As you can probably see, all of these example promises are really quick and to the point. The idea here is that you're trying to grab the person who is interested in your thing quickly and easily and get them to take the next step. So a person who is interested in programming might get interested in your headline really quickly, right? Because it's easy to understand. A person who's not so interested in that is going to move on quickly because, again, it's quick and easy to understand. So in this way, you can find the people that are looking for your thing a little bit more easily, and by being super clear about what you're offering and giving them that promise right in the first line, they are more likely to come and take a look at whatever it is you are offering. So promises are one of the key things that people use to get you to take the next step, and you can use these too when you're communicating with people. You can use them when you're making plans for events or maybe inviting people to events. You can also use them in your online content preparation and so on. So get creative. Think about the ways that you can make promises to the people that you hope receive your messages. With this in mind, let's move on to the second step. Provoke emotion. When we share information that comes with really strong emotions, it tends to have a stronger impact than information that doesn't come with such strong emotions. You can think of it like this. If you hear from a friend that they had a terrible accident somewhere, like say maybe they encountered a fire in some place in the community on that day, you might have a very strong emotional reaction to that because your friend is able to talk about the experience of being in the fire. However, if you hear a report about the fire on the news, you might not have the same kind of emotional reaction because the reporters are just giving the basic facts of the situation. Your friend probably uses a lot of emotional language when they talk about how they were feeling, what they were thinking, what they tried to do, and you're probably going to be much more impacted by that story than you are about the news report, right? So this is a really simple and easy to understand example of the different ways that emotion can really impact us and have an effect on our messaging. So when we think about what we want to communicate to someone, it's also really important to think about the emotional component of what we're trying to communicate, especially if we want them to share the information or take action in some way. Let's take a look at some sample headlines that create emotion in the reader. Shocking crime reported in San Francisco. Celebrity furious about crazed fan behavior. Confused shopper finds hilarious surprise at the checkout. Each headline here includes an emotion, right? We have shock, we have fury, we have confusion, and even surprise included. So all of these create an emotional response in the person that's reading the headline, right? If we want to find out what happened to the celebrity that made them so angry, we have to click the article and see what happens. If we want to find out what the funny thing was that happened to the confused shopper, we have to watch the video to find out exactly what the result was, right? So all of these create a kind of emotional expectation emotion, going back to point number one, it's almost like an emotional promise, right? And by clicking through to that thing, we get to see what the result of that was. So we're kind of creating an expectation that involves a little bit of an emotional component here with these kinds of headlines. They don't always do this, but using emotion can be another really powerful way to get people to take action and look into your thing or participate in your thing or engage in some way. So this is the kind of thing that you'll see in clickbait a lot, for sure. I'm sure many of you have seen clickbait like this before, but this is kind of what's going on an emotional level and the reason that we tend to respond to it in certain ways. A super interesting research study was done about articles on the internet and sharing of those articles. The researchers found that articles that created anger in the viewer or in the reader were more likely to be shared than other articles. So by creating anger in people, stories tend to spread much faster than if the story is about something that doesn't produce such a strong emotion. But the good news is that although anger is very, very closely related to high levels of virality online, other things, positive things, are also very closely related to lots and lots of sharing. For example, awe-inspiring stories are also very, very highly shared. So for example, a child cancer survivor that goes on to do amazing things. That's a pretty incredible story, right? That's a type of story that induces awe. So we feel something like bigger than ourselves, right? Those kinds of stories are also very, very highly shared. Other things that are very highly shared are entertainment videos, things that make people laugh, things that make people feel happy. Those things are also very, very highly shared. So if you can create those kinds of positive emotions in people, your content can also be shared in that positive way too. So it's very important for you to keep in mind the emotional experience of the person who is reading what you're putting out there, because it can really influence how they share the message, how much they share the message, and what the emotional impact of that story is on that person. So think about this when you're reading, of course, and then use this kind of thing when you're writing as well. Step 3, benefits, not features. When I learned this seemingly small tip, it totally changed the way that I present my information and try to share my key information with followers and other people who are interested in what I'm doing. This is a really simple concept, but when you really think about it, it seems so obvious. Like, why did I not do this sooner? Let's break down what benefits, not features really means, and I think the easiest way to do this is with an example. So let's imagine that you are in charge of promoting the new iPhone product. Let's say it's the new one for the year, whatever it is. So if you were to list the features of the iPhone, you might say things like it has a 6.2-inch screen, and it has a million pixel camera, and it has a bazillion speed processor, or whatever it is. So let's say that you list the features of the new phone. If you present that information to the average consumer, like the average person like me, for example, I might not know what all of that stuff exactly does, right? The mass market maybe doesn't know all of that information, doesn't know what to do with that information. Perhaps an iPhone geek or a gadget geek might understand what those kinds of things mean, but maybe the average person doesn't. On the other hand, if we list the benefits of the newest iPhone, the list might look something like this. Clear and easy to read display. The best photos you've ever taken with an iPhone thanks to the new camera. Fastest processor yet in an iPhone, allowing you to be more productive. So in this list, we see the same kinds of items. So we're talking about the same sorts of things, the camera, the processor, the glass, the screen. But in this case, we are talking about specifically the things that the user is going to get. So in other words, we are not listing the what. We're not saying what it is. We're saying what you can get from that thing. This is what is meant by benefits, not features. It's much easier for people to understand what they can get from a product or from a newsletter, from an event, from some kind of engagement with whatever it is that you're creating, than it is to list out a bunch of features and have them kind of try to guess at maybe what those things could possibly mean. And going back to part 1, it also offers them a promise, which we learned can be very effective in getting them to take the next step in whatever it is that you want them to do. So I hope that you take this one and start thinking about the benefits that you can offer to the people that are consuming your things instead of just telling them about the features. Great, so those are 3 steps that you can put into practice right now to improve your writing and hopefully get people to take action with the things that you are creating and providing, and hopefully get them engaging with you in better ways in the future. So we talked about today making promises, creating emotion in other people, and talking about benefits, not features. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and of course subscribe to this channel, because if you do, you'll get more videos like this that will help you to become a better communicator both online and offline. Of course, if you have some other ideas for things that are good for communication, leave them in the comments so that we can start a discussion. And if you liked this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thanks very much for watching this one, and I will see you next time.